here's a game I played a few days ago. I finally got around to reviewing it today. It opens with the Staunton-Cochrane Variation, which isn't something I normally play against, so I thought I would do a quick review of it and make a nice short video about it. So Staunton-Cochrane opens with e4, c5, the Sicilian Defense, and c4. Now, one of the downsides of playing this move so early on is that it can be hard to push the move d4. In fact, in this game, my opponent wasn't able to get that move, and I'll show you why. I play knight c6 against the Staunton-Cochrane. Immediately, it's putting pressure on that d4 square. It makes it much more difficult to get that move in. He plays knight c3, so, he's not going for that anytime soon. I play g6. This prepares a bishop on the long diagonal. He plays g3, doing something very similar. And then he gets this move in, which looks pretty weird. You could say it's worse for white. If I put a knight on e5, well, now I'm just threatening checkmate, and he has to address that pretty soon. So I didn't see that. I played knight f6. Yeah, just a standard move. And you'll notice from this position right here, I basically achieved a typical accelerated dragon setup. I have my knight on c6, bishop on g7, knight on f6, a castled king, and I haven't moved my d-pawn yet. So anyways, I have my accelerated dragon setup. I'm happy. And he castles too, so we have a pretty symmetric position still. I play d6. It's a pretty flexible move. Idea being, at some point I can get this bishop out. Not sure where yet, but I have options now. He plays d3, very similar idea with this bishop. And I play e5. This is my first inaccuracy of the game. The engine recommends I put a rook on b8. Idea, I guess, being to avoid this bishop threat. Maybe it's to promote the move b5 at some point. Not too sure, but again, we still have a pretty symmetric position here. Now, I retreat my knight to e8. I want to push f5 at some point. He plays f4, beating me to it, and I'm supposed to take the pawn back, but I don't. I play f5 instead. He plays this king move. It's a pretty standard move. Shows up as an inaccuracy, but I think I would disagree with the engine on this one. I do get my knight back to f6, so I pretty much just have an ideal position here. He takes my pawn, I recapture with bishop. He puts a knight on e4, and apparently this isn't the greatest because I can just take it, but I don't like trading pieces if I don't have to. I play queen d7 instead, and my idea is to connect the rooks. Alright, so he plays bishop e3. It's another inaccuracy. Again, it's a pretty standard move, so I don't know why. I'm not at that level yet. I put a rook on e8, and my idea here is if I ever trade off this e-pawn, well, I would like to have some rook activity. I could have put my other rook there, but if this pawn goes away, the f-file looks pretty good as well, so I figured, why not just have them both next to each other? Engine doesn't like that, but who cares? He moves his rook from e2 to c3. Another pretty standard move. The engine thinks it's inaccurate. That's whatever. I take his f-pawn with my e-pawn, so now I have an open rook. Can start doing some things. And I finally get around to taking that knight. Now he does recapture. I ignore it. And again, we have a pretty symmetric position here. There are two differences, of course. He has a king on h2, whereas my king is still on g8. I have a queen on d7. His queen is still on d1. And then, of course, my rook is much more active on e8 than his rook on a1. So arguably, I'm a little bit better. The engine would agree with me on that statement. But yeah, that's all there is to that. Now, he plays rook b1, and I play the move h5, which the engine does not like one bit. I think I know the reason why, and I'll show it to you pretty soon. Move 19, he plays b4. I play solid. I just play b6, just reinforcing that c-pawn. He plays b5, which just kills all activity for him on that queen side. I move my king to h8, and the idea here was to avoid this knight fork. This move wasn't really necessary, and you'll notice here I actually missed a tactic to win a pawn. The idea is I can take the C pawn. If he recaptures, I can take his knight. If he recaptures, I can take his bishop. And then I would be up 4-3, and then equal 2-2. So I could have won a pawn. I do win a pawn at some point, but not using this tactic. Let's go back to the game. All right, so we were here. I played the move d5. We trade pawns. He threatens this bishop trade, which I don't mind one bit because now I can take his undefended pawn. So that's how I won the free pawn. He takes my bishop, a little intermezzo, if you will. I recapture, we trade queens. He threatens my rook, but I use it to pin his bishop to his king. Takes my bishop, we trade rooks. Here you'll notice I'm just up a pawn. It's much more clean, much more apparent. I have the 3-2 queenside majority. I have pinned his bishop to his king, and on this very next move, well, I make it so that that bishop is pretty much just dead. It's not going anywhere, it's pinned, it's double attacked, it can't be defended, it's just dead. He can give a check, he can take a pawn, but ultimately that bishop is just gone. I give a nice little check here. It wasn't my best check, but I looked at the follow-up here and I figured I could get a pretty nice checkmate if he plays this wrong. I actually end up getting it. Well, I get to mate in 1 and then he just stalls on time, but I'll show you what it looks like. So he moves his king to the corner, which was his losing mistake, and now you'll see the mate threat. Where does that king go? It's gone. He has no way of getting rid of this rook. He has no way of getting rid of this knight. This checkmate is just inevitable at this point. He can give a check, he can give another check, but again, this checkmate is unavoidable. So, nice little game there. A few lessons were learned from this review. I need a better understanding of inaccurate moves my opponents make. One example of that would be this move right here, knight g to e2. This just closes off his king and makes it so that his king safety is questionable. It's not necessarily winning by any means for me, but it doesn't make his game any easier to play, and it promotes piece activity for black, so bad for him, good for me. So that's one lesson learned. Another one is that I need to consider using the full board. I didn't really make much use of my H or A pawns in this game. In fact, the times I did try to use them, they turned out to be more weak than strong. Yeah, maybe I should have played H5 here. And then the third lesson I learned from this game is that I need to look for tactics to win material. And the example of that was when I could have won his C pawn on this move right here. So overall, this was a nice active game. From this review, I hope I am now better prepared for my next game against the Staunton-Cochrane Variation.